Welcome back, blade lovers, to a fixed blade pocket check. And this is the latest round. This is August 2022. I've done this several times before, but as I get new small fixed blades in, I like to share with you how they do in this concept of carrying a small fixed blade rather than a medium-size folding knife, or maybe in addition to one. What are some of the advantages of a fixed blade knife over a folding knife? Well, if you keep it in a good place on your belt or your pocket, it is readily available by simply reaching, grabbing the handle, and popping the sheath off. One might argue that you can easily get to a folding knife as well. It's kind of a personal preference. However, once the knife is out, there's no danger of it collapsing. There's no danger of the blade folding on your fingers accidentally or not opening the blade fully. It is a knife. It isn't going to change. You just merely have to remove it from the sheath. So that's somewhat of a self-defense concept as well as even an EDC concept. The knives I chose here today are all relatively new additions to the collection, and they range from exotic double-edged knives to very simple single-edged knives. Now, I include the Street Beat by Spyderco as kind of the standard, I feel, for a small, usable fixed blade that can double as a defensive knife. It's a Fred Perrin design with a deep finger groove. Call it a choil if you want. It's not really a choil, but a deep finger groove incorporating a guard. It's an excellent design. It's got a handle almost like a surgeon's scalpel. If you've seen a surgeon's scalpel handle, it's got the Spyderco hole there. A lot of people have said that's for lashing it to a pole or whatnot. It is not. You see that crop up everywhere on Spyderco knives. It's their trademark, and they're going to put a hole in the blade whether you need it or not. It is an excellent Bowie blade, clipped blade design of about 3.5 inches. And I decided today, that's the rattling of Kydex, I decided today to go ahead and bring out a ruler just so we can see some quick measurements as we bring out each knife. So that's about 7.25 overall. I guess I'm not really getting that in the frame. Let's try this a different way. There we go. Leave that ruler in place. And yeah, about 7.5 inches on the Street Beat with about a 3.5 inch blade. It's a very convenient size. It is hard to rival it, especially for the ergos, the economy of it, well under $100, and a decent steel VG10. If I bring the case out here somewhere, there it is. We have kind of a molded case. It's not Kydex, or perhaps it is. It's a molded case, or you wouldn't be able to mold in the Spidey logo there, would you? Fits perfectly so that when you put your hand in place, you can easily thumb it off. And the concept being, you can either withdraw the knife from the pocket and thumb the sheath off, or you can put a static line here and attach it to your belt so that when you pull the whole thing out of the pocket, the static line pulls the sheath off. That's the Spyderco Street Beat. There's also a Street Bowie, which is a 5-inch version of the same knife. Going to jump over here to the TKL Guardian. Now we're talking semi-custom. So you're jumping up in bucks to I think at least 150 on this one, maybe a bit more. And this is a very wicked 3 sharpened edges, Warncliffe or Tonto, depending upon which way you hold it, right? We have that extra point, as well as the primary point being very piercy. The whole thing sharpened, razor sharp. Tim Kell does a great job. Very thick stock, and we're talking on this one a little bigger than the Street Beat. We're talking, well, actually not. No, 7.5 inches. What did I say the Street Beat was? 7 inches? Well, we can do a compare. We've got them both right here. Yeah, it's roughly ½ inch longer overall than the Street Beat. It's a little heavier knife with a heavier stock. You have a choil, not quite as deep. I'm going to call it a choil, but finger groove, for those of you out there that are going to hold me to task. A finger groove and a handle that is minimal so that the overall size of the knife is down there. And yet we have a blade on the TCal Guardian of 4 inches. So about a ½ inch longer worth of steel and cutting edge. Can be held easily in the point down grip, and you still have that edge for driving and ripping back. If you want to use this for utilitarian chores, you've got a pretty good amount of thumb space there on the back of the blade. I would like to have seen just a little bit more, and Tim said on his own personal version of the Guardian he actually brought that out just a bit further. So maybe that'll be a future modification. But still can function for cutting chores, EDC, slicing up boxes, what have you, but a little more leaning towards self-defense, self-protection. Comes with a excellent Kydex sheath. I believe this is the one. Nope. I'll find out if it isn't. There we go. Should be able to tell by the shape, right? Excellent sheath, horizontal belt carry clip, well constructed. All of the Kydex from TCal knives is extremely well molded and fitted. And there, again, easily thumbed off. The tension on these is just right. You don't need to make any adjustments. It's one thing I do love about his knives. Lots of attention to detail and thinking about how the knife is going to be used. Many, many different models out there at TCal for you to consider. This is just one. Again, self-defense with some EDC thrown in. Now, here is a very interesting knife which just came out from the Williams Knife Company. It is made from Sleipner steel by Lion Steel, kind of a derivative of D2, so I believe there is some rustability to it. And it is an Osuraku style blade. It is the Mini Kaiken. And Kaiken and Kweiken are pretty interchangeable. I'm told that Kaiken is technically the preferable term to Kweiken. But that's the style blade you get with that backwards oriented point that you'd normally see on a Tonto being far forward. Of course, that Tonto is an Americanized Tonto, and this is a bit more traditional. We have an overall length of 7.5 inches, again, right in the ballpark with the first two, and a 3.5 inch, maybe a little bit better than 3.5 inch, like 3.6, 3.7 inch blade. It is, I feel, the perfect blend of EDC and defensive knife. It is very piercing. It has an very decent thickness to the steel, nicely chamfered with that swedge at the top. All of that defines the point, and you still have a edge which can be used utilitarian. Cut your cardboard boxes, open things up, cut some steak, prep some food, bring that out to the campground, and it's really not going to fail too much against a dedicated kitchen knife, I think. You're wondering about a guard? Well, if you hold this knife correctly, it is well reinforced. We've got all of these grooves in the micarta handle that keep your hand from slipping on it even under wet conditions. And I watched Mr. Williams Sr. punch this through metal cans and car doors and drums and things like that very easily without any slippage on his hand. He said you have to know how to hold the knife. One thing about this, it is a universal handle. It is not dedicated to any one hand position. It's completely neutral. This happens to be a gray micarta. I think it comes in one other color, and it may come in a blackened blade. But excellent, excellent all around. Pocket carry knife. Let's take a look at the sheath on this one. And that's not the right sheath. They all look the same when they don't have the knives in. There it is. And this is an expertly done sheath. You see that ramp up here? Easily thumbed off. So you carry that in the pocket. You can take the belt loop off. It's a horizontal belt loop. You can reorient the belt loop so that it loops up and over your belt in kind of an appendix or a kidney carry. But they went out of their way to make sure this knife is going to work for you. You can get your hand on the handle, thumb it off very easily, and it's right there in your hand. So about a half second to do that, and this knife is operating in more ways than one. So there you have it again from Williams Knife Company, the Mini Kaiken. Let's go now to Bastinelli, and we're taking a little bump up. So about 175, I believe, on the Williams Mini Kaiken. Yes, it's not going to be anywhere near the price that you have to pay on the Street Beat. But again, you're paying for the innovation, you're paying for the design, you're paying for the materials quality. Here we have the Chopper, one of my favorite fixed blade knives of late, from Bastinelli Creations, Bastion Cove. And he said this is the knife he carries the most every day. So that's saying something. Slim handle. Overall, I think we're going to come in a little longer, 8.5. So we're about an inch longer. But where my hand feels cramped on some of the other handles, this is a full size handle with a little shorter blade. Not than the others, but a little shorter blade. It's about 4 inches, really. Deep belly slicer, hence the name Chopper. It's also a very piercy blade if you can direct that point where you want it. It is definitely upturned, almost in a Persian way, and some of you may take a liking to that and some not. But I must say the way that thumb fits in there and my hand fits onto the handle, it is ergonomically nearly perfect. It is not a neutral handle like the Kaiken, but it is definitely form-fitted to the hand. As with all Bastinelli knives, we've got loads of jimping. You've got jimping all the way out to here, and you've even got some jimping right up front for detail work. Now granted, you're going to need to pick that knife way up in the air to get the point because it does trail. Lanyard hole, and once again, very nice sheath. This one, unfortunately, I wish he had picked this Kydex up a little bit here so you could thumb it off. It is not going to be possible to thumb this off. What you're going to have to do is have it anchored either to a static line or your belt, and it does come out nicely with the right amount of tension. This one's from M390, so you are paying for premium materials. We're talking here just over 300 bucks, or maybe I think about 300. Some places are selling these for 280. You can check around. I'll leave you some links, but do shop around because the prices sometimes do vary and get discounted at one place or the other. Nice crisscross pattern here, is grippy, but comfortable and smooth if you want it to be. But when you anchor your hand on there, you have plenty of grip. That's the Bastinelli Chopper. I believe the largest of the group here. Didn't think it was going to be because it is still falling on the small side. Lastly, and not leastly, we have the Tellum by Bastinelli Knives. At first glance, you'd think this can't be an EDC knife at all, but consider how easily you can cut with these serrations into hardened materials like strapping and plastic and marine rope and what have you. It's a short blade, and the overall length of this knife is again 7.5 inches, but we've got a long handle with a short blade. We've got about a 2 3/4 inch blade, fullers down both sides, but you have a full handle, not cramped at all. Very thin, very flat micarta. G10, by the way, on the chopper, and this is also M390. So some of the newer knives coming out of Bastinelli Creations are going to be, some are LMAX, some are M390, but most of the newer ones are M390. And I think that's good that he is going to the premium materials because he's charging a premium price. You've got an index here for the thumb, so should you want to hold this in a horizontal fashion, you can. It is absolutely devastating in the point down position, if whether you do Libre fighting or whether you do Filipino martial arts, this is going to work for you in that point down position. But equally good in the point up. Thing is, double edge, you just can't put your thumb on the top. You're going to have to rest your thumb around the side or hold it, as I said before, in a flat position. So the Tellum means spear or javelin. It is a neat little knife. I had to have this simply because it is so unique and it is so versatile, more so than you would think from looking at it. So the Tellum, the Mini Kaiken from Williams, the Chopper from Bastinelli, the Street Beat from Spyderco, and the Guardian from TKL Knives. Hope you enjoyed this brief segue into fixed blade land. Consider small fixed blades. I think you're seeing more of them coming out from different manufacturers now, including Civivi, who in the past hadn't made very many, if any, fixed blades, is now coming out with a good number of them, as well as their associated company. Sencut has the Waxahachie, which I didn't bring out. Maybe we'll do that for the next round. At any rate, hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a like and subscribe.